Peace to everyone. Just want to do a little follow-up video. First, I want to say that the last video made me pretty emotional, as you can kind of tell. After uploading the video, I kind of had to step aside and I wanted to hold my son, tell him I loved him. And instead, he came up to me and said, "I love you, Daddy," and, wanted to hang on me and just, it was great. So it's kind of one of those little healing situations when you think of this stuff from the past, and it's like your children are your world. Your children are number one. That's what that's what makes life worth living. So I read stories of what happened, and again, that Mr. Scott, he must have known my ancestors. He's from the same town. Like, he belonged to Greenleaf, and he lived in Okima, and I have no doubt that he would have known members of my family, like probably even direct ancestors. Okima is not a big town now, much less so back in those days. So I'm sure he knew a lot of my people who were around back then. So the stories that I heard, that I cannot give you the source material on it because I'm under oath not to, from my aunt. Until I die, I'm not going to post on the internet. I'm not going to say the actual source. And because she don't want me to put it on the internet. She doesn't want, cause there's a couple cousins of mine, she doesn't want having it. And unless they die, like, there's, and even then, like, she said, don't put it on the internet. So, but in the story, I'm not going to say which ancestor it was who referenced what ancestor from the Trail of Tears, but the stories are similar except minus all the direct baby killing. Like, it's more like Mr. Scott was saying something about the old people saying, "Take my blanket." The story that I heard was that people were dying along the way, and you had like vultures overhead, you had like wolves behind them, trailing them, and when people died, you couldn't bury them. All you can do is just cover them with a blanket. That's all you can do. It's like, that's goodbye. And then you got to keep, marching along with soldiers. If you're a man or a boy, you're in chains. You've heard the rest about the women if you've, watched that video. I covered a lot more than I maybe intended, and maybe less than I wanted to in some ways. I want to cover this that I'm mentioning now. So, anyways, so I want to share that part of the family history, that the story that I heard, that I read, that's actually documented, is it tells the same story but differently, and actually not as bad. And even what I read was, what I just told you all, was pretty bad. So it's something that it's unsettling, even the sugar-coated version, if you want to call it that I read about. And it still, brings tears to your eyes to read that. But then to go through what I read you guys earlier, the previous video, that you can get really mad about the past. It's really easy to see that stuff and get mad and get really upset. I understand why people look at slavery and they're like, "Oh man, this is like the worst thing in the world." And, I get it. I get it, because you look at the injustices of the past, even if it's hundreds of years ago in some cases, and you're like, "No, this sucks." But when it's like something that happened like less than 200 years ago, and, your ancestors were directly around all of this stuff, and it's pretty heart-wrenching. So, and to know that the exact thing was not just happening to the Creeks, who, were these hostiles, so-called, it's pretty bad. And like I said, I want to show both sides of the story, but again, regardless of what side of the story, there's no justification for certain things, atrocities. And we have to be honest about that. That's why in a previous video I'm mentioning, let's be honest about our history. Let's be honest, because we need to be. But we also have to take a moral stand on things. And you can't tell me that Fort Mims, the burning of those kids, is okay. You can't tell me that was okay. And if you do, you're a nut job. Like one of the Eastern Band Creek guys that I got an internet war with for a very brief time, till the moderators took care of it. And I looked at his profile page. He's some wannabe Mason, some wannabe Templar, nut job. Anyways, he thinks he's like the heir of Osceola or something. I don't know, whatever. Idiot. And he's totally okay with Fort Mims. And that disgusts me, and I called him out on it, because I don't care. I'll call anybody out on this stuff. Anybody I respect in Creek Nation, if they say that stuff's okay, I'm gonna tell them no. It's not okay. It is not okay. Because it's not okay what happened to our babies on the Trail of Tears and the Cherokee babies. It's not okay. And that's the stand that I take. And I'm just going to mention Waylon Gray, famous from Save Hickory Ground, because that's his ceremonial grounds, and that's, he was protesting what happened at that the Porch Bandit Creek Indians were doing. I've mentioned him before, and I saw a video of him, being interviewed saying something. I think his aunt did some research, or one of his great aunts had some records of, what happened during the Trail of Tears, and like they were, they're drowning babies. Like the soldiers were drowning babies, especially the male babies, to get people to leave. I mean, I have not found the source material on that, but I believe it, especially after reading the horrible, horrendous stuff that I read, which to me is, at least just as bad, if not worse. It's a very unsettling, either way would be an unsettling sight. You cannot tell the story of the Trail of Tears in a movie form and have it get past the R rating. Have it not be at the very least an R-rated film. Worse, it would be TVMA. It would definitely be something that's horribly unsettling. It's not something for kids to watch. It's not something for most adults to watch. It's not something for any adults to watch. Who wants to see that? You can't even legally make something like that. You can't portray that in any reasonably accurate form because it's just too disturbing. It's too horrible. And, it is. So you can do it in shadow form and even then that would be horribly unsettling. It's just, even discussing what just happened, discussing it in a film, this just happened, the soldier just did this, that would be horrible. There's just things that happen in history that are absolutely, atrocities and cannot be justified. Not my opinion, at least. And I'll stand by that. So we got to protect the young. We got to protect the future. And that's why I'm against a lot of the horrible, weird stuff going on in the world today. All the woke stuff, but regardless of where you stand on that, well, no, not regardless. That's, we can't be killing children either way. We can't be, mutilating or hurting them. The children of the future, and we have to keep that future. We have to protect that future. That's our legacy. That's humanity's future. If we don't have our children, we're gone. And some people want that because they're insane. And some people just want one group to disappear. And like I said before, the only good Indian's a dead Indian. That's what you're saying to the 20th century. I'm sure some idiots say the same thing today, but not out loud because, they might lose an election, or something. So anyways, I don't want to get too political with this stuff because regardless of what aisle you're on politically, the stuff I read earlier was disturbing. And what I just told you guys about, Waylon Gray's story and my family story, this is stuff that, this is generations ago. And it affects me today, reading this stuff. It just does. So, but I got my boy. My boy's my future. That is the future. Our children are the future, and that's the way it is. So we have to protect that future. So no matter what. Doesn't matter what the government says. Doesn't matter. So doesn't matter what the politicians say. It doesn't matter what the teachers say. None of that matters. What matters is that we protect our kids. We teach them good values. And maybe we teach them not to poke at the hornet's nest, which at times our people have done when it comes to the federal government, unfortunately. But sometimes it was also merited, and it's just, we were being encroached upon. It happened repeatedly. And so there's a lot of history on both sides. But these are the atrocities to me, and I think to any reasonable person, these atrocities are not excusable, regardless of who's doing them. So I stand with my people enough to call them out on the garbage. That's where I stand. So anyways, and I'll call anybody else out for sure on their stuff. okay? Because I'm about the truth. I'm about justice, okay? And yeah, that's the way it is. So, and you can say, oh yeah, well, you can't go back and judge the past because we live today and that was back then. And that, look, there's some truth to that, kind of, except that back then people knew better even then. People back then knew better. People today are doing evil stuff and getting away with it. If you were to skip forward 100 years in the future, what would they be saying about all the stuff that we're trying to do to our children now, if our society even exists at that point? You know, they'll look at that as being barbarism, and they'd be right. But then they'll find some new barbarism to make excuses for, some new abomination or whatever. And you know, humanity doesn't always change that much. But that's why I say they knew better back then. They didn't care. So, but we need to care always, always. And that's it. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to y'all later. But